Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Palmer Jr. ETH. You're you, and together we are minting coins. And there's a lot to be minting about. There is a lot going on with the United States banking system. There's a lot going on with the global banking system. There is a lot going on with USD, the petrodollar, potentially the former petrodollar, with what's happening with the BRICS associations around the world. Maybe we'll get in a little bit of that. Maybe we'll get into some fun stuff like some Bored Ape Yacht Club, some other deeds, what they have going on, the gift that keeps on giving. Talking about Web3 gaming, Web3 economies. There's a lot of potential with the Yuga universe, and then how other brands can sort of get their ideas off of Yuga. And why not? Because that's what Yuga did. Yuga just got a bunch of their ideas from other people, right? And they're just like putting it together in a really organized way. They're the project with the plan. But before we get into that, we're going to be talking about ENS domain names, ENS names, ENS name wrapper, the ENS new vote EP3.5, making all of this live. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the name wrapper contract, a controller contract, a registry contract, the other contract, and other things in the ENS ecosystem. There's ENS Referrals. I wonder how long until ENS Vision adds that on. I'm kind of surprised they haven't yet. Interested to see if Stephen Miller knows about ENS Improvement Protocol 14. Article about that on web3domains.com. But we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that with Stephen Miller. .eth. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, Gary? Thanks for having me back. Excited for another Whiskey Wednesday. I'm all prepared. Got the thinking done. I've just got the drinking to do. So it's gonna be a good night.
I can feel it. I like it.
And honest to God, not a boring topic in the bunch. There's a lot to talk about, and honestly, I think the one story that's still flying under the radar that maybe we have a few more minutes into later is still the ongoing / potentially wrapping up case against XRP. So some interesting stuff going on out there right now.
Yeah, totally. If you got any good links, feel free to drop those down in the private chat, and I'll bring those up. But anybody watching this stream from the beginning here with us now? Yeah, we're minting coins. Feel free to check us out at mintingcoins.com. Not sure what we're doing, when we're doing it, who we're doing it with. But you can be one of the first to find out if you want to become a member of mintingcoins.com, and what we're doing, teaching people about Bitcoin, Ethereum, Web3, blockchain technology, helping people manage, mine, and be mindful with what's happening in Web3 and this whole crypto blockchain game that we got going on. But there's good, there's bad, there's ugly, there's the political. We don't like talking about that. There's the Web3 political, the crypto political, and we have the religious. We have crypto cults. We have bandwagon cults. Tribalism into space. Not sure if we should talk about that, but there's a lot of fun stuff too with the projects. When it doesn't get political. There's and so what projects are you into right now, Stephen Miller?
I have a strong propensity towards OCM and On-Chain Monkey, but I am really interested in a lot of different projects from across the entire ecosystem. A lot of multi-chain platforms, layer 0 elements, but the one that's had my attention a lot lately has been Origin Protocol of all of them. I'm not sure if you're very familiar with Origin, but they've got some deep roots. They've been around since, I believe, 17. And they have now since evolved into a multi-layered protocol. So they have a DeFi solution. They have an NFT solution. I'm all into it, but I'm excited to get into some more of the technicals around ENS right now, because there's two things in this world that have the majority of my attention. It's probably On-Chain Monkey and ENS, but that's because I'm a little bit of a NFT degen.
And nothing wrong with being a little bit of a NFT degen. see here.
I mean, I'm no Luke, Gary. I mean, and hopefully we'll hear from Luke later on the show. But yeah, no, I'd like to say there's nothing wrong with it, just so I can help myself sleep better at night.
Very cool. Excellent. Well, I am just going to get into some of the ENS DAO stuff. And let's see here. Yeah, we are at the twitter.com/ENS_DAO. And let's see what we got here. Yeah, so earlier today, 14 hours ago, we have Jeff Lau, who posted that they've deployed the name wrapper. I think everybody knows about this by now. They also posted the new public resolver. They also posted the new .eth controller. And last but not least, the fourth thing that they posted was the reverse registrar back to mainnet. And so they have all of this on a tally on-chain vote. I have that up right over here. Pop that, refresh that again. Yeah, ENS DAO posted. Yeah, they got the tally right down here. EP3.5 proposes upgrades to the ENS to add the new .eth controller, which will allow registering wrapped names directly. This is you know how this works. It's a 7-day vote with the ENS DAO, then it's a 2-day time lock. So say there was some crazy thing like a price increase, we would all be able to see that. Hopefully we're not on a 2-week vacation, just like a 5 to 7-day vacation. But yeah, no, 7 days once it gets in the tally, 2 days time lock. It takes for someone to even post inside, for a proposal like this. You know what the number is that they would need?
I don't. Tell me.
It's 100,000. So anybody that has 100,000 ENS votes, delegate votes, governance tokens delegated toward them, that 100,000 number allows them to create a proposal in the ENS DAO system.
Let me go back for 1 second, because there was something that you said that I'm really curious about when it comes to the wrapper.
Yeah.
It's been deployed. We're looking to vote on acceptance. Is that still correct?
Correct. Well, yeah. Well, no. Yes and no. It's more than acceptance.
Adoption? Is that the better term, or what's the?
Well, let me see if I can get this correctly by getting a little deeper into it, because this is like I got into some really big arguments with Nick and the core team and ENS DAO during the time of DevCon when we were in Bogota, Colombia. It was a lot of hubbub on Twitter, a lot of arguments in the middle of the festivities. But it was just about the clarity of understanding what's happening and how it's going to happen and if this is really decentralized. And so there is like a long, uncomfortable, a few threads about that in the history. But yeah, the core team, anybody could have created everything that they created. The core team created what they created. And then it was all done on testnet. After being done on testnet, they launched that code live. They took that code, they launched it live. So it's on the Ethereum mainnet. And historically, just so you know, there was an error in the first deployment. So after they deployed it, like 2 or 3 hours later, they redeployed it. And yeah, so then the code was live on the mainnet. Now the code is live on the mainnet, the ENS DAO has to vote on it, not for social acceptance, although this also serves that purpose, but not just for social consensus. We actually need people to vote in order to tell the smart contract to look at the new addresses. And so I'm going to read the description in the abstract and the specifications here, if you want to bear with me. So the abstract here says, with a new name wrapper, we will add a new .eth controller that allows registering wrapped names directly, as well as registering with multiple records and adding a reverse record in one transaction. So the one transaction is going to do those two things. It's going to add the controller, and it's going to direct, and it's going to add the reverse controller. It's going to add the reverse record, and it's going to add the new controller. Let me just highlight these. So step one, add new controller. Oh, that didn't work. Is it because it doesn't accept this code? Highlighter, green. Okay, hold on. Okay, so so that's the same transaction. It's going to add the controller and the reverse record. This will reduce the transactions required from 4 to 2 for adding the records and the reverse. This will be added as a controller to the name wrapper, and then the name wrapper will be added as a new controller to the existing .eth base registrar. So my understanding technically is for the existing ETH base registrar right now, it's looking at the current controller. But we need the name wrapper. For the name wrapper to work, we need the existing ETH base registrar to look at the new controller for the name wrapper to work. And so this DAO vote has to go through in order to update the smart contract, the admin permission for the existing ETH base registrar to recognize the new controller, which was just uploaded earlier today. And this is the address for that. So in addition to those things, they're also going to replace the current reverse registrar. So in addition to changing the controller, they're also going to replace, not update, the reverse registrar with a new reverse registrar, which allows the new controller to set the reverse on registration. It also, the new reverse registrar will also allow the controller to add support for the owner of the contract to retrospectively claim the reverse node. So I don't know exactly what the hell all this means, but basically means the user is going to have like a bunch of new features, you know? But the point I'm trying to get across is that to add the new ETH controller, to add the new reverse record, to add the controller for the name wrapper, to add the new controller to the base registrar, all of this has to happen algorithmically through the contract. There's admin permissions, and we're saying we're updating the admin permissions, and Nick is not capable of updating the admin permissions on the smart contract. Brantley's not capable. Basically 90% of these people together are not capable. You know, like we just hit a quorum. Where are we at? 1.2.
I'm surprised to see that there's even some against.
I mean, it's one person with 5 votes.
Huh.
So I don't know if we count that as some. Yeah, so all these people, now that it's hit a quorum, and you know that means the quorum means that the vote is valid. If there wasn't a million people that voted, or it wasn't a million people that voted yes or no, right, to reach a million, then the vote would be invalidated or simply not valid to begin with. And then, yeah, so they just like get into detail. What are these addresses for these 4 things? These 4, and then these 4 contract addresses. They've been configured. The ownership has already been transferred to the DAO. The new public resolver is set as the default resolver on the reverse registrar. This executable proposal will execute the following calls to complete the contract upgrades. And so it's going to call registrar.add controller. It's going to, set subnode owner. It's going to call set interface for the resolver, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then here there's some executable code.
Getting into the real sexy details here.
Yeah. Like, I mean, so you can see, I mean, this is beyond me. But I know that there's enough here that, that we can onboard our technical person. So if Julio 7994 was our tech guy, we could point him here, then he would be able to, take these address and target and confirm whatever we got to confirm. Yeah. So this was my comment. I was like, let's test it more. But now we're going to test it live.
Let's go.
Can we just take the 1 second to really show the appreciation for where we are right now? It's actually on mainnet, people. Like we did it. The here and the now. I'm honestly proud. I am, because it took so freaking long to get here. I'm glad we're testing live.
That's in a year. You think about it, Kev's show on 5159. Kev's show, that his 1 year mark is Friday, and so they got it live on mainnet, right? A year before the clubs. Like we were talking about this all summer. It's really like from the summertime. So yeah, it's live and it's super. Think about all the bugs that they worked out. And there's a lot of people who are just get this up. There's a lot of people who talk a lot of shit on Twitter. There's not a lot of people that have a lot of software experience. There's not a lot of people that have biz tech, or marketing tech experience or QA experience, working in a company where even if they're not the developer, a company where there's developers and there's QA people testing it and there's product marketers, like writing requirements for stuff. Yeah. And so it's really hard to write software. That's the point. It's really hard to write software. And there's a lot of bugs that happen in Ethereum. This is a high stakes game. This is a major application. This is the most important non-financial application on any blockchain. And I'm really happy that they took the extra time and we don't have, the bugs and the errors. But hey, so we got, speaking of our tech guy, Julio 7994, and our project management, Ada.eth. What's up, everybody?
Hey, what's up, guys? Good night. Cheers to you guys. I was a little late, stuck in traffic. Rush hour is pretty bad out here, but I'm happy to be here.
Salute.
Salute. Not a tech guy at all, but
are we building our dream team? Let's go. What did I miss?
Yeah, the Web3 guy with the cool ass, beautiful ambiance studio with the ENS Web3 Alpha.
Hey, look who's talking. I see you changed something out there.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
I'm just saying, it's like, man, it's almost a pet peeve. People saying that they're not tech guys or tech girls. They don't do technology, but it's like they got these smartphones, they have these websites, they have the social media, they got the blogs, they're doing stuff. People know more than they let on to,
Yeah, they have these like amazing sound studios and sound rooms and cushy things on the walls and bling lights and holy shit.
I mean, I drive my car every day, but I'm not a mechanic.
If I was going to be very politically incorrect, I'd be like, where are the strippers?
We're gonna get canceled, Ada.
I know.
Remember the olden days.
Everybody tuning in at home, just remember the last episode of Minting Coins Whiskey Wednesday when they got canceled.
Wait, last show?
No, this one.
Yeah, this show.
You made it, Julio. You made it to the cancellation special.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Did I miss a joke or?
Just have a drink. It's all good.
Well,
It's-
Oh God, looks like we're taking bottle
Yeah.
rips tonight. Let's go.
Yeah.
let's go. Happy to
Yeah,
see you guys. Happy to see Steven too.
Well, we just got through a quick run through on the updating of the name wrapper and where the vote's at right now. I know that Gary had a whole big agenda ahead. I'm curious where we're going next because we were getting technical. We got pretty deep in the weeds there.
Yeah, now you know how I feel every day of my life.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, details matter, right?
Yeah, so
And it doesn't matter if it's your professional life or if it's your personal life. No matter what you're doing, the fine details, knowing exactly how to do something, knowing how to find things, knowing how to execute, it's those technical details really matter no matter what we're talking about. And I really like that, helping people learn about the details and being able to do things so we can hit that exact right spot and and hit the mark to really like accomplish what we got to do. So that was a cool part with just like understanding like the DAO. Here's a DAO vote. We have like one person voting against it. We hit the quorum. I don't think we're going to get more than like 1.2 million people that are going to vote against this. Voting is going to end on April 4th. I'm glad it's not April 1st. This is going to execute real quick. Last thing on this note, I just want to show the alphas. We have Serenade being the first user of the new contract wallet, followed by LCFR.eth and Arcadian. And they're already in there. What are they doing? They're like already in there wrapping names, setting approvals, wrapping, names. Yeah, they already wrapped names. They're rapping. People are rapping.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Yeah, I think this is going to create some really, really interesting projects. I definitely think there's going to be oopsies. I'm curious to see I'm curious to see the adoption, because I think I look at it from like two perspectives. So there's all the people that just want to make money. Like they're just like when name wrapper and when name wrapper and when name wrapper. And I got to a point that I was like, if I hear this one more time, I'm going to just like burn it all down, because it's like we all want decentralization, but it takes time, and it takes time to execute it in a way that it doesn't have mistakes, that it doesn't create like, epic failures. And we're basically making a path when there was no path. There isn't a lot of documentation. I mean, they're building code as we speak. It's like a whole new territory, and everybody wants it like yesterday. It's like that kind of instant gratification piece. And so I'm very curious where that wing is going to go. It's going to be very, very interesting, Stephen, to see the Shark Tank and how the subdomains are going to affect the names and the pitching and all of that. Because all we've heard up to this point was subdomain potential, which was another one, like burn it down. We talked about it. Like I was like, if I hear subdomain potential one more time, because we just don't know what the potential is, period. Like we just don't know. And so I'm curious from the monetary perspective, but that's just curiosity. What I'm really excited is I want to see what gets built on it, because I think it's going to tremendously open. It's just going to open so many doors in terms of building. And I think it's going to open a lot of doors for the actual NFT projects or just projects in general. And that's where I think we're going to see some of the most creative ways of using subdomains. And so I don't know if it's going to be soon. I don't know if it's going to be a year from now until like we kind of burn some fuel and make a lot of mistakes and realize kind of get to a point of realizing what the true potential is. But it's going to be a fun ride regardless. And I hope that in the process, we don't burn some really good names. It's, it's bound to happen.
That is the concern, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was talking on another recorded space last night, which I sometimes regret doing. But I realized after I shared this, oh shit, it's on a recorded space, so I might as well just lean in. My biggest concern about the subdomains right now is we've been talking a big game on it, and we're not going to actually see like anything material come of it. I think you're going to see a lot of NFT projects do what Penelope's Country Club did by issuing subdomains to their users. That's going to be the primary, use area right now. But the problem is there's so many domains out there and there's so many alternatives that you can utilize.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure that it's going to be worth it to somebody to be like, oh yeah, no, I want the subdomain of that. No, you're going to want the alternative that is already available for registration. You don't want to be paying through. And the domains that you would want a subdomain, I think a lot of them are still owned by people that are just diamond handing them. And they're not going to really want to open up and allow people to sub because they're, as our good friend Nick likes to say, they're just squatters. So not to open that can of worms, but that's kind of my leading concern right now. It's a little bit different of a viewpoint, but I'm trying to, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm also a realist. So to each his own.
Yeah, I agree. It's I mean, it's going to be entertaining nevertheless. And I still think that we haven't even scratched the surface of what the actual potential of ENS is. Like, we're just playing right now and seeing what lands we're developing, but it's really like we're in a sandbox. Like, we're in a sandbox and we're building sandcastles and we're trying to figure it out, like what's going to stick and what's going to stay up, and most of it is not. And I think the subdomains potentially are even further out.
I find it funny along the lines that Steven was saying, how optimistic people are with subdomains and like, oh, you can subdomain, I'm going to make it .eth, and you can be Julio, I'm going to make it .eth, and they have all these great ideas. I mean, it's nice to be an idealist, but it's also nice to be realistic, right? Pragmatic. And I don't think subdomains are going to be for like those type of names. I think it's going to be maybe last names are going to be a big play. Maybe company names, like Steven said, subdomaining to their clients or to their members, like a golf club, country club, that type of thing. Maybe for their employees. But I find it's highly unlikely that, a lot of these names that we hear in spaces and are like, oh yeah, you can subdomain this. And we hear it in the Shark Tank all the time. Yeah, you could, huge subdomain potential, huge upside. It reminds me of the Wolf of Wall Street, selling the OTC over the counter penny stocks and like, having no fundamental to back it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who the real winners are in the subdomain game. But I know it's going to open a lot of doors and it's going to onboard a lot of people. And I think from that aspect, it's going to be great. From the speculative aspect, I think it's going to be a big donut for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's very, very similar if you look at blue chip NFTs. Although I really don't like the blue chip name, but let's just go with it. Blue chip NFTs, if you look at any derivative projects that were built, like how many of them were actually successful? They literally was a handful of them that was maybe successful at launch, but very few, very, very few went the distance that they actually provided real value over time. Most of them were just like a lot of fun and nothing. And I think it's gonna be similar, is that it is much, much harder to to invent something that is completely brand new. And if we look at the world, like the majority of the ideas are derivative of some existing idea. There's very, very few of these things that come along, like when Bitcoin came along or where ENS came along. I mean, even ENS in itself wasn't like a brand new idea. It was based on something that we've already had. It just, took it from Web 2 and now we're going to decentralize it. So I think that majority of the people rely on the ideas that are already there. And we have heard, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And sometimes it's absolutely the truth because things have already worked. But sometimes you have to add pieces that, like, you have to have an original idea to go with it. And I just don't, I think that, yeah, they absolutely are floating in a world. But I think that not everybody knows how to pluck an original idea out of ether. Like, it doesn't happen a lot.
These names that, the subdomain potential, there's like a trifecta. It's like one of those triangle things, or it's like that physics experiment, with like the observer. It's like we can know the time, or we can know the place, but we can't know the time and the place. People have these ideas, and then they have these price valuations for these ideas. But the third part of the triangle, you have the idea, you have the price valuation for the idea. The third part of the triangle is when. Like, when in time are you? Are you existing in 2022 with your ENS idea, with your ENS valuation? Or are you thinking that I am existing in a time of 2032, right? With my ENS idea and my ENS valuation. Because a lot of these ideas that people have and a lot of the valuations, I kind of agree with, right? Sometimes I think people are undervalued. I would never pay those valuations today. But in terms of what I think is the future, if they can hold on for 10 years, right? But the problem is that, right, people, they want instant gratification. And so they get a good name. It's a good idea. But then what do? It's like they want instant gratification. They don't want to wait 10 years. It's like, holy crap, we've been waiting 6 years. It feels like a lifetime. And we have like zero traction, right? Unless we wanted to fire sale everything, fire sale everything. There's like no traction. We're 6 years into 7 years into this. And that's just a natural state of things. It's like internet names, we're kind of like being sold for $100,000 a pop in 1995, between 1991 and 1999. Names were being sold for $100,000 a pop. You can go Google domain name journal, and they got the records from at least 1995 showing that. It's like 1995, if you held on to a name in they say you bought like voice, .com in 1995 for like $100,000, and 2005, 2015, 2000, like 25 years later, hell, if you held on to that for 25 years later, then you sell it for 30 million. It's like, but we're in crypto, right? People, it's like 1 week is 100 years. So who the hell is going to wait 10 or 15 years to sell their grail for what it's worth?
Very few people.
Yeah, I think it would be really, really interesting to see whether majority of the grails simply return, and that would be something very interesting to see what happened with .com. I think that there was a small percentage of people that held on to it for such a long time, but I'm wondering how many of good domain names eventually fell out of registration and came back into regular rotation, and you could purchase it for. I don't know how to crunch that data, but I wish somebody would crunch it, because I think that it would be really, really interesting to see. And I think we're going to see a huge wave of that in the next 6 months. And I think that the people who have the liquidity will get richer, because they will basically scoop up all those names that were registered and not sold. And, simply the buyers are going to let them go, because they don't want to, keep shilling for registrations. And, but I think that the big percentage of them will come back. Like, I think that now we're kind of in the precipice where a lot of people are still scooping them up, but the longer the bear market lasts, and especially, I'm wondering how much the domain wrapper was kind of holding that hype up. And now that this subdomain, now that the subdomain wrapper is here, and the whole subdomain potential bubble is going to burst, I'm curious how many people are actually going to get out of the space and go and move on to something else. And I think at that point, we're going to see how it actually equalizes, because we're still in the aftershocks of the bubble, so to speak.
Building is really hard, and so now people are going to have to build. And yeah, it's a whole other cup of tea, right?
Right now, cash flow is king.
Cash flow is king. Yeah, I think with that sort of logic makes me wonder is like what ENS vision has been not bragging, but putting it out there that they already have this subdomain wrapper system done, ready to go for people to use. And I don't know like what that means. I don't know if that means that people are going to be able to, I don't know what options people are going to have to wrap their names through ENS Vision. I don't know like how that UX and UI is going to be on ENS Vision, how it's going to be on OpenSea, right? Because if you use the main contract, it's basically all the subdomains are going to be in its own contract on, OpenSea, like for example. Just like the mutant apes are in a different contract than the board apes, the subdomains will be in a different contract than the main domains. And and just how is that UI UX going to be? How's that user design going to be? How's that user journey going to be? How's that user flow going to be? How's it going to look? How are people going to click around? Like not just with like, oh, this is like Gary dot, the dot email is really popular, right? So Gary dot email, and because they're going to start wrapping those for real with the real name wrapper, right? So it's, are you gonna be able to search by like the second level domain, or are you gonna be able to search if I type in email? Is it gonna, if my thing is Gary.email, is it gonna, and someone searches the word Gary, is it gonna show up? They search the word email, is gonna show up. If the thing with the fuses, if there's fuses burnt on a name, how is that gonna show up on both contracts? The old contract for real names, second level names, and then the contract for subdomains, because they're going to have fuses into themselves just the same. How's it going to look if fuse 1 or 2 or 6 is burnt? There's just so many questions. And so thinking about the things I'm talking about, you're thinking about it from the consumer perspective. You're thinking about it, oh, I want to go and I want to buy a subdomain. But think about it from the person that owns the Grail. If they own, what's a good one? Just like whatever, like say it's email.eth. And say it was just like some, let's think of a different one. It's not already a client of ZZ Group. If they had like cars, I don't know who owned cars. Just like app, what's a freaking puppies? I like using puppies. Everybody likes puppies. Okay. Yeah. Somebody has puppies. They're like, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire. 1 million people are going to want to buy their name .puppies.eth, and it's $5, and that's $5 million. So I'm going to go to ENS Vision. I'm going to say, this is my name, wrap it. Now make me a beautiful web page so anybody can buy their name, right? It's like an e-commerce thing. It's like a sales thing. Like who, like, how's that page going to get generated? You guys see what I'm saying? So is it going to be like one? You guys remember Rocket Mail? I'm really old.
Yes, you are really old.
If you know Rocket Mail, you're old. Yeah, you would go to Rocket Mail and then you would say, yeah, I want to create an email address. And then Rocket Mail would be like, okay, you can like have your name at Rocket Mail. You could have your name at like techworker.com. You could have your email at all this cool stuff they would have, all these cool options. And basically now we're doing the exact same thing with these ENS usernames. And so if 1 million people, if 1 million grails, if like 1,000 grails are wrapped with ENS Vision, and like, how are those sales? You guys see what I'm saying? The sales page for each of those individual people. I mean, I've thought a lot about this. And so I have like all these, like, I don't want to get into what I got, but there's a lot to consider in terms of how easy it is for someone to make a sale, right? It's not just having a good name. It's not just wrapping the name. You know, you got to like, it's a product launch. It's a product. It's a company. You know, you got to have a homepage. You got to have a click here. You got to have a buy here. You got to have like a checkout user flow process. You know, you got to have hard leads and soft leads. It's like, you can't just like throw money at something, have it make money, you know?
I mean, look, you can try, but it doesn't typically work. The difficulty for me, and like I got into this however long it was ago when we had the riff on how much 184 despised subdomain potential. It's going to take effort to make something like this really work for you, right? For this passive income stream to come to life. And that's why I was really big on the idea of generating in advance true subdomain architecture, right? Figuring out what it looks like. What are the potential like names that you can go up and register right now without needing a wrapper off of your domain, right? You can do ens.garypalmerjr.eth, which may or may not already exist, or delegate.garypalmerjr.eth, which may or may not already exist. I only know both of those because I recently did a delegation. So the point that I'm getting to is you build it out and you can then sell them privately. If you go through this whole process of saying, okay, well, I'm going to go do this, and then I'm going to have to build this page, different game. But it goes back to, okay, like what is reasonably going to be deployable right now, right? Like where is the most immediate impact that subdomains can have? And to me, it's simple. You have families, so your family surname. You have different platforms, right? Like with what ZDC is building out for email, right? If a full platform is being built so that you can use that subdomain as your key identifier on that platform, fantastic. From there, it goes to NFT projects like Penelope's Country Club brought up earlier. Beyond that right now, like it's a hard case because you have to build. You have to really make a concerned investment of both time, resources, and effort to make that shit come together. That's why I'm skeptical right now. I'm really skeptical, and I didn't start out there. I used to be super bullish. But like think about the fact that you also have normalization in the mix now. People can go register shit with special characters, and it can work. Takes a lot of appeal away from having to go and register sub, doesn't it? It's kind of my case. So I don't know, man. I'm teetering, but I do see the potential use case for it. We're just, as you said, Ada, like we're on the playground right now. So we have to be the ones to start the conversation.
And I think that involves a lot of the speculation aspect for the quote unquote squatters, right? Everyone trying to become a millionaire from selling one domain or selling a couple subdomains. I totally agree with you, Stephen. It's going to be very hard, but I think the main takeaway when the dust settles will be people using subdomains for their utility as a family member or a group they belong to or a DAO or something like that. I think, but then from that point, it stops being for profit, right? It's a not for profit minting of subdomains. I think not for profit minting of subdomains will prevail over the profit of minting subdomains, if that makes sense.
100%. I think it's going to be really, a gifting piece. It's like, here, you're a member of this club. Here, you're a member of this community. And I think that the biggest piece that we overlook in, not just in ENS, because we have seen it in the NFT community, and then before that, we have seen that in the shitcoin community, is that, so there are people that get in really, really early and they just get lucky and the coin goes to the moon or the NFT project goes to the moon. They were just like, it's being like in the right place at the right time. It was the same way with .com. You got in on some project, you got excited, and you got early stocks, and it became Facebook, and you're set for life. It's just, there are those stories, but then those are really far and few in between. For the rest of the people, whether it's on the NFT front, you have to build a business. And I think that's the piece that we overlooked. It's like, well, everybody can be a day trader. Yes, everybody can be a day trader, but there is literally a small handful of people that over a period of time have consistently made money. Not got lucky once or twice and then lost it, a year or 2 or 3 later, but consistently made money. And those are the people that had built businesses and put systems in place and invested in education. And, this is their livelihood. This is their craft.
I think they all fail. I think all traders fail, but go on.
No, I mean, I don't believe. I believe that there are traders this is their craft. They put time in. And I'm saying a very small percentage. There are poker players that are career poker players that have made money and consistently make money. For most other people, they gamble it away. And I think it's the same. So people they hear those stories and then they come to NFTs and they come to ENS and they come to all of that. And they're like, I am going to get rich as F. It's like, no, unless you are going to put in the time and to build a business and to put contingencies in play and to figure out how you're going to have a cash flow and build a team and all of those pieces, you're not going to make money. You're going to lose money. And we're going to see huge amount of people losing money in ENS because they blew a lot of money. And then, day in and day out, I mean, Steven, you see it all the time on Shark Tank, like, selling names that you're like, are you kidding me? Like, what is that? And who cares? Like, I wouldn't even register it. Nevertheless, bought it on the secondary. Like, come on. And, but I think because we hear those stories and we're like, oh, it's just like, it's easy as hell. Like it's not any different if you are an immigrant like me. Every time when I go back to Poland, the story is that you just come to America and money grows on trees. And then you sit down and you tell people like, yeah, usually like if you working 9 to 5, you get like maybe 2 weeks of vacation a year if you're lucky. And they look at you like we're savages out here because they're part of European Union and get 6 weeks and they have benefits like and maternity leave like we never heard of. We're like, what? We work like dogs 12 hours a day. What are you talking about? And so I think we're running on perceptions. Like everybody's like, I'm gonna like, in 2 months, I'm gonna be like driving a Porsche or whatever, Tesla, and I'm going to be living on an island. It's like, not likely for 99.9% of
what I'm hearing is expectations, right? It's the expectations, and it's sort of what the difference between what you do know and what you don't know. And it's just a lot of people that have very high expectations, but what they don't know is that it's hard to launch anything. Everything takes energy. Everything takes effort. Everything takes organization and planning, right? And like execution. It's just really rare people get lucky. And if they do get lucky, it's because of all the hard work they put in for so long that it's not really luck. And so, yeah, people have very high expectations, but they don't know that they have to do like what they have to do a product launch, to run a website, you know? And Stephen Miller says, I don't know exactly what he said anymore, but it was basically like some wariness. Stephen Miller expressed wariness of the current market sentiment and people and like where people's sentiment are, again, like their expectations. And what I'm saying is, you know, people are going to learn quick. And some company, it's basically, think about the NFT projects. There's projects, artists. I love. I think the art's great. I think the artist is great, but the project just didn't get Gary V to buy into it, and so they just like didn't do as well as another project, you know, which is also great. You know what I mean? But it's like not the other project. You know what I mean? It's like some projects just, you know, like why did Bored Apes launch, and then why did this project fail? And the same thing is going to happen with what we call the ISOs, the initial subdomain offerings, right? We have ICOs, we have NFT projects, we're going to have ISOs, initial subdomain offerings, and they're going to be just like ICOs. They're going to be just like NFT launches. Going to be like, get in early, get on the white list. You want to be Steven.visgrail.eth, you got to get on the white list, pre-reserve, you know? And yeah, then it's going to super launch, and then it's going to be rolling after that. And if you don't execute well, it's going to fail. And if you do execute well, it's going to be great. There's going to be people that have shit names. They're going to execute well. Everyone's going to buy in. It's like a garbage looking piece of art NFT. There's going to be other grails. It's going to be, wow, this is the best piece of art ever. It's like love.eth. And it's going to fail because they're just like not going to do it. They're going to do something that just doesn't resonate well with the market. So,
but do you know why love.eth is really going to fail? Because love.eth is a battlefield.
Yeah.
Where is it? There you go. It's not Whiskey Wednesday if we're not having fun, people.
I love it. I was gonna say it's because half of all the love.eth ended in divorce. Or
that just got dark really quickly.
That is not dark. If you want me to get dark, I'll tell you about the other half of love.eth, which ended in death.
Wait, I have a question though before we continue with. You guys get 2 weeks vacation?
Are you kidding me? I haven't gotten paid for time off since 2008. I get nothing. You get shit when you're a business owner.
That's
you
true.
You go on vacation. I mean, Gary and I were in Key West, and like, you know, we were doing a client meeting literally in like our bathing suits in a hotel before we went out snorkeling or something. I mean, it's just like, you know, I was like, we were with the kids on the spring break once, ready to go skiing or snow tubing or something, and they were having dinner, and I was on the phone with the client, like closing a contract, like literally closing a fucking contract. Like, I don't remember last time I had time off where I like turned up my computer.
Thanks, Billy. I'm like her partner. So now we got to go have an HR meeting about time off.
Yeah, and if you work, like if you live and like love and work with the person, it's like we'll go out to dinner and we're like, and I'm like, I should be fucking billing. Those are billable hours, you know, because we're like talking strategy with the client. like while we're like on a date, on a dinner, and it's like, and some of it, it's like really cool because we talk about like the projects that we want to build, but then it's like sometimes we're like, I'm talking about some fucking client that's like, went back like 5 times on a design, and I'm like literally about to like, burn their house down. It's just like, what is
hashtag not literally.
Not literally. I've never.
Hey, but you can include time off in the company policy as well. If you're an S corp.
Yeah.
Financial advice.
Yeah, and it also, and I mean, the thing is like, if you have any sort of system where you're making like a little bit of money, it's like you can not work whenever you need to not work.
That's the cool.
You also got to work.
Yeah. Like that's like I always say like the coolest part is like I literally try to wake up at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I work from like 5 till 8, then like we go to the gym for 2 hours, and then I don't work again until 11. So I have that like window from like 8 till 11 where it's just like I go to the gym and it's like I shower, and then I kind of go back for like round 2. And sometimes like after dinner, like when we're watching shows with the kids, I'll open the computer if I have like some stuff to do. And like some of our best like side by side work we do on the weekends, actually. We like open our computers on the couch and we like build websites. So it's cool in that way, because depending on what your flow is, like you can make your life fit into it. And I was listening recently to this podcast. I found this like super amazing new person that I'm in love with. I think their podcast is like the Mental Wealth Podcast, and he's like an anti-woke coach. Super, super cool. And just amazing person to listen to. And he was saying that he's like, I'd rather be broke and work for myself than work for somebody else, because when you work for yourself, the only person who like sets your glass ceiling is you. Like you can make as much or as little, and if you work for somebody else, at any moment they can be like, you're fired. Like we all have stories like that. Like I literally.
That's the world of working for yourself, though. You eat what you kill. It's
100%. Yeah.
It's the old analogy that you bring over from real estate, and like that, it is what it is over here.
Yeah.
I did it for the last 8 years, and it's a grind, man. But
it is.
It's a lot of fun when you fucking win, though.
Yeah.
That's the truth. But with what you were saying earlier, Gary, when you were talking about me being a skeptic, I just had to bring it back to this because I thought it was the funniest thing in the world, and be like, look, me talking about subdomains from like the skeptic's point of view, you're going to officially turn me into the Jim Cramer of the ENS space. There's going to be a counter trading Steve Miller signal for whenever I'm skeptical. All of a sudden, the subdomain market's just going to take off.
We can call it the reverse Miller. People go mint reversemiller.eth, not financial advice. That's going to be the new ETF for the ENS subdomain market.
And see, now because of Julio, somebody's going to go in onto Urban Dictionary and create the reverse Miller, and it's not going to be that at all.
If I spend 12 hours,
it's already there. Yeah. I'm sure there's already. You probably know that. You probably know exactly what the reverse Miller is.
Me, no, I didn't write that.
I was about to say, if I spend 12 hours a month listening to bad pitches, it would turn anybody into a skeptic. I don't know how you have patience.
You should honestly see, like, it's like every single week I review domain pitch for like what we actually end up having on the show. I ran the tally earlier this week. Just on line items alone, we've received and reviewed over 700 submissions this season. And that doesn't include the ones that submitted multiple domains in an individual submission.
Yeah.
And how many do you guys run on the show?
18 an episode.
18 pitches. Wow. I think so. Not show advice or financial advice, but I think they would be really, really great to do a show at like the wrap up of the season of like all the rejects. It would have to be like a comedy show, like of the worst of the worst.
I haven't told the guys this yet, but we're absolutely doing awards at the end of the year.
Yes.
It's going to be so much fun, and I'm going to roast the shit out of some people.
I love it.
Well, you told them right now.
Oh, but again, like, I don't know if Flexter knows how to access YouTube, so I see this as kind of like
I'm gonna clip it for him. I'm gonna send it.
Oh snap!
And I know
Gary,
that I know Pete doesn't have the time for YouTube, so again, I've got leeway here.
Gary had described this really, really well today. And I'm probably gonna butcher it, but he's like, you know, this is like our living room show among friends where we talk and drink whiskey. It's like a private show. Like he's like, it's like a private invitation only gathering of friends that gets broadcast on YouTube. And I'm like, that sounds about right. Like,
Aww.
yeah, like it's awesome. Why do you think you get invited back week after week? Because we love chatting with you.
Yeah, even when I'm not available. So I definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna reach out to people who have good, you know, like not good thoughts, but like necessarily, but like interesting thoughts or thoughts at all. You know, people who are thinking about this space, people who are doing things inside the space, people who we like being around, people who we like communicating with, because this is our opportunity to, you know, connect with people that, you know, because if we weren't connecting with people right now during the show in a face-to-face fashion, we don't have anybody to connect with. There's very few people in your city, let alone your family or your community, who you can talk to this stuff about. So having this show is like really cool that we can like get together and talk and yeah, just be like a mastermind group of people who understand Web3, people who understand ENS, people who understand, you know, what's going on day to day, who understand the history. And yeah, it's just getting together, having these conversations, you know. So I really appreciate us coming together and connecting and, you know, talking about things that otherwise, you know, I mean, I'm really lucky that I get to, you know, talk with Ada.eth so much. Step one is having one person, and then step two is expanding, you know, and building the community, you know, and that's part of what we're doing here. Part of what we're doing at Minting Coins. It's part of what we're doing at Web3domains.com.
Snap! I've learned today that it takes 200 hours of contact and connection to move somebody from a casual acquaintance to a very close friend.
200 hours.
So yeah,
how many hours?
200 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why the friends that you have from childhood, like so much time can go by, and you have this unbreakable connection with them because you've clocked so many hours with them, like whether you were together through, you know, high school or college or even earlier, you were childhood friends. Like you just, you know, imagine like you played for like 5 hours a day together every day, right? That like over time compacts. And so if you've clocked like 10,000 hours together, like that bond becomes unbreakable. It like almost doesn't matter what happens. Like you can meet each other 10 years later and you're still gonna be very, very close. But the point is that we always do business with the people that we like, that we know, like, and trust. And I like to also add admire. Like we often like to do business with people that we admire. And so, you know, that's why like your network is your net worth, because like when you are building teams, you are first and foremost, you're going to pull from your network. Like you're going to look like who has the skills, and I want to pull the people that I already know, like, and trust. And then I'm going to go and hire somebody that I don't know, because I have to clock in those hours. Like I have to clock in all those hours to just get to know them, and B, figured out how they work and build connections with them and trust them and all of those pieces. So it's much easier. So, you know, these are like future teams, you guys. We're going to be on a team together.
Julio, we're only so many hours off. We're going to get there, man.
Almost.
Acquaintances to friends. I know it. But again, that's part of your flock. And that's my little segue for Gary to get back over to ENS IP 14, the big flock enhancement. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean it's like a small thing, but it's a thing. And yeah, ENS EP14. This is all about the platform source parameter. And yeah, a groundbreaking addition that unlocks numerous benefits and use cases. So the article, we got links to the Discuss forum, to the latest like updates for the ENS IP14. And then we also have a link to the old ENS affiliate marketing affiliate program conversation on the Discuss forum as well. The long and the short of it is that, let me see here. The long and the short of it is that there's like a little piece of code in the information in the smart contract when someone registers an ENS name. A little piece of code that's available, some space that's available for some code. And this space that's available for some code, they have this system now where code could be injected into that little bit of space. And with a little bit of code that's injected into that space that could be used for referral programs, it could be used for knowing when an ENS name is registered. We know how right now we know how many ENS names are registered every day. But this could allow us to know how many of those ENS names came from app.ens.domains versus how many of them came from ens.vision. So we can know, we can know who registered the names, and we could also people could use, like ENS Vision could use this to say, hey, do we get more people registering from this thing or from that thing? So you could do like A/B testing and like marketing testing and insights and stuff. And so this just allows for, transparency, better analytics, healthy competition. It's really easy to use. You just, pop in a unique identifier, update your registration function, test deploy. And then when people register an ENS name, it'll have that unique code. Just want to throw out there potential concerns and drawbacks is that this could, if it's not done correctly, it could be negative for privacy and data prevention. So it's important to, have a anonymization of the information. But yeah, and then ENS Flock Watcher is just one of these tools that has been put together. And Alex, avsa.eth is a part of this. And this is just really, really interesting. I'm sort of like shocked that ENS Vision hasn't updated yet. I know that they know about it. I know that there's some details we're looking into. But yeah, so it allows for new data analytics and who's buying what.
I mean, look, the truth about this entire proposal, like on the surface for the quote unquote everyman, I got to tell you, born is watching paint dry. It just is. But when you break it down and understand the real raw benefit, it's transparency, it's better analytics. That's what it is, right? And we need that. We need that for adoption. Like we actually do, because the more data that we can actually source, the more larger businesses and like data consumers are going to want to interact with ENS. It's very simple. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good NSIP, ENSIP. And I'm excited to see Novak's join us just in time to really unpack this paint can, as I'm referring to this proposal.
Yeah, we're about to ENS sip on this whiskey.
Let's go.
Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone. Sorry for the tardiness. I was just on the Ethmoji space with Flossin, talking about quads and all the fun stuff with Ethmojis. And this is great. I agree. Visualization is the answer, don't you think, with all of it?
What was that last part? Visualization was the answer to it. Then you cut out.
With all everything. I mean, it's the end all be all. It's like going from 2D to 3D. We just need like bubbles of just circles of different size showing relations. You know what I mean? Relationships and activities and what's happening. And so infographics just become a big need for all of our blockchain stuff. And this is so that looks like it goes to that end. So I like it.
Yeah, I mean, look, like right here, like no source given, the vast majority, because obviously this is way new, and then we're gonna be able to look at this data and break it down, and we're gonna say, yeah, this is how many came from ENS Ferry, this is how many came from ENS.vision, and then yeah, this gives the opportunity for referral programs. Imagine being a content creator, imagine being a developer and being able to get a 5 or 10% referral. Imagine just being able to get better data, better insights. Yeah, it's like the rubber is going to hit the road, because at some point this is probably going to say ENS.vision, and then ENS.vision is really going to be able to show not just like, hey, this is the numbers and this is how much money, or this is the raw number, but this is going to be sort of indisputable, right? This is good, like decentralized code that's aggregating data based on new best practices.
This piece also becomes so much more important as ENS grows, because I think more and more of these projects are, if and when successful, are going to start pulling in investors. And, the way to go through the funding and the way to have more investors is to show data. I mean, that's just like 100%. And I think that another piece is we are starting to look at putting some of the pieces in place of how content creators in the ENS space can start making some recurring revenue. And I think that is going to become more and more important, because people are going to make free content up to a certain point. But I think that once we set up the systems where content creators are rewarded, we are going to see tremendous amount of content. And then that would only mean that it's going to bring us closer to adoption. So, when I first read the proposal, I was like, wow, this is really, really dense. And then Gary broke it down and I was like, wow, this is, it's the little pieces. It's like they're not as exciting as selling some Grail for 100 ETH, like 100%. And so they don't often make the news. But I think it's so important to talk about this. And oftentimes when those things get introduced, they're in this very, very dense technical language, where for most of us, they kind of just go like this. They're just like, oh, this is boring. But I think that it's these pieces that really are going to become the future. And this is what's going to bring us closer to not only putting ENS in more and more users' hands, but really having much, much wider adoptions, where we're going to go into, the world of brands and companies and advertising. And, that's where we're really going to see the huge, huge shift.
Yeah, so happy to break that down. And if you guys know anyone who's doing any development with ENS, I would definitely turn them on to this, because from a marketing perspective and from a developer perspective, and every business, all of it, this is really, really cool. And definitely check out web3domains.com for all the different articles, all the different pieces of content we're putting out there, unlocking the power of ENS IP14, talking about the Microsoft Edge testing, built-in Ethereum crypto wallet, the sign-in with Ethereum and MetaMask integration, so much stuff, getting into the trademark battle with Hermes versus the ENS domain name, and the legal battle over NFT domain names and domain name law. A lot of interesting stuff being put out there. And yeah, when we put these articles out there, we're doing the best we can, not just to put together a really good story and really good information, but really like adding, sources where you can, follow the links to Twitter and follow the links to the cases and or wherever we're getting our information so you can get more information. This has been a lot of fun creating this website and creating the stories as we go along of what's happened in the space.
This video is sponsored by Web3Domains.com. Make sure to check out Web3 Domains for all your Web3 needs.
Yeah.
You know that guy's got a professional microphone, right? Because now I do. So deep.
Yeah, I have a really nice Blue Yeti on a mount downstairs on my little couch spot where I used to work my office there. At this moment, my 3 children are like rampaging in that area. And so now I'm up in the nursery with my not good.
Novax, you want to hear something funny? When I met with Stephen Miller and another member from the community, we were going through my spaces set. Like we were going through my module, through my different things. The first thing I found out is my Blue Yeti was a shitty mic.
Are they buzz? Mine has like a hum.
And they were like, "Oh, you should get a Shure. Shure is quality. You should get a Shure.
Bro,
Don't get a Blue Yeti. Blue Yeti's shit."
Shure SM58 is like the standard. I used to perform live music and sing, and so Shure SM58, I would bring it with me everywhere. When I got married, I gave it to my friend who was going to Haiti to do missionary work. I was like, "Take this to the island, bro." He's like, "I don't think they have amplified sound a lot, but okay." But I sure wouldn't be using it except for this kind of stuff. Now I realize there's a use for everything. But I wanted to say that I'm reading Gary's article, and I mean, dude, why is Alex such a hero? Why is he such like a great? Every time the ENS community is having trouble, some people can't figure out which direction to go. There's a conflict. Alex comes in with a solution, an idea. He was the guy who proposed the 24-hour club. It was just a very cool and innovative idea. He was a guy. He's just such a great mind. And I don't understand the power of this for referrals. Really, is kind of what this represents. Really, the impact of it from how Gary's framing it. And like for somebody like me or Julio or Steven, look at the Shark Tank. How that could, when people are ear hustling off the Shark Tank, maybe if you have a front end, or you could put them, you know what I mean, associate it with your traffic at that time. This opens up a lot of opportunity for a lot of us who are doing this. Let's be real, because we enjoy it, because we're explorers and it's fun. And many of us are also speculating. We want to make money, obviously, too. But it hasn't been the case for everyone out here that that's been very profitable. So I just really love the idea of kind of little ways that could make it so if you're a person talking about ENS and then persuading other people deliberately or not that it's that the value proposition for ENS is something cool for them and their identity, then yeah, it'd be great if there's a little incentive and reward to keep you doing what you love doing, which keep me doing what I love doing, and all of us. Awesome.
Yeah, this is all still really early with having like a really good referral system, and the referral system would probably be limited, like it wouldn't be like anybody being able to join at first, like you go check out the tweet threads and a little bit more about that. But this is the beginning of what is possible and what we could do. And it's sort of a hope of mine that we can have decentralized, permissionless referral systems for people to make money permissionlessly with the tools that we're building inside the ecosystem here. There's a lot of things that are happening in the space. Before we get to some more of them, what's up, Evan15? Happy motherfucking birthday!
Woo, 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 woo.
Hey everyone, I got my whiskey. So I gotta try my first sip of alcohol right here. I've never had it, so.
Bullshit. Show me your ID.
Oh, so this is what alcohol tastes like. No, but happy I'm here.
Order Chad.
Thank
He
you
just took
guys
his first
for,
sip of booze like
me.
that.
I'm happy to be here every week, and I'm pumped for whatever we got to talk about.
How old are you, Evan?
Just turned 21.
Bullshit.
No.
Yep.
Show us your ID right now. I want to see the ID.
Forever 21.
It's listen. It's 21 in crypto years. Shit moves fast.
Yes. Very fast.
Your parents aren't watching the YouTube stream. You don't have to lie that this is your first drink.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely not. I do think that's a good joke. I'm like, oh wait, what is this? Like, nah, yeah. But
we don't know that his parents aren't watching the YouTube stream. We were on a Emoji Spaces earlier, and Ev said his parents had a gift for him. I was thinking, wow, his parents really are that cool. They hooked him up with some cool emojis because they know what's important to you.
I don't know about that, but
No, maybe
They're
not.
probably like Flexer's age.
You're talking about the owner of management.eth. You think this kid fucks with emojis? Come on. He's about high quality domains.
Stop fudding emojis. Ev just got a single. He just got a base single. He's a legit emoji Chad.
Dude,
What can you say? Can you say that about yourself?
I only throw this shade because I know that I can at least rip you and Flossin and just laugh about it. It's the only reason I do it.
I want you to have a cool Steven. Well, you know what? You already got a cool one. Don't you have the shark and the swimmer? Did you? So that's a done deal.
Just the shark.
Just the shark? Wait,
And
the shark.
Whale. Yep, the shark,
Okay.
the whale.
Was it Fireball? I sold base swimmer adjacent to shark.eth, which is a 4-char. I sold it to Fireball for 0.1, I think, like months and months ago. So, and that is a beautiful image. It looks like the shark is biting the swimmer. It's outstanding.
I do want to just clarify, there is triple shark out there. I think that needs to go to ENS Shark Tank someday. We need to get that crowdfunded or something. Triple shark, I mean, geez, like that fits the branding right there. So just letting you know.
When the Shark Tank is pulling in the type of money to be able to hold down a triple on a long-term extension, I'll let you know.
Literally like a month from now, like no, but I'm bullish on it.
Man.
I'm bullish on it, dude. You guys are doing a great show, so congrats.
I feel totally left out. I don't have a single emoji domain. Not one.
Our bags are down, so you're not missing out on anything. All you're missing out on is losses. So don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, I found one that I love that would be perfect. I'm not saying what it is. It is available, but it's a 3-digit, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to have that carry cost. Like, it would be cool as hell, but that's just what it would be. It would be cool.
Is it an emoji 3-digit?
Yeah, me. I want to know what it is.
So those
Send
are
it to
actually
Discord.
those are 5
emoji.
characters. Those are 5 characters, by the way.
Send it to me on Discord.
No, this one has
Send it to me on Discord.
Yeah, if it's a keycap. If it's a regular digit, it's a regular digit. But if it's a keycap,
Send it to me on
keycaps are like
Discord.
2.
I want to see it now.
You'll see it later.
So Otta, just buy like
I'm not telling.
Emoji.
buy a country club, like a flag emoji, like a Poland 048, which is the area code. Like...
I wanted like quad whiskey glass, but that was taken. Just to have it for shits and giggles. So whoever has it, send it to me. Thank you, and please.
We could probably track them down. We could get that for the show.
Yeah. I run a show every week. I want it.
Hey, you deserve it. I'll reach out next emoji pill. So I'll reach out next Monday. We'll see who has it. I'm sure we'll figure it out. If we don't know who it is, we'll find them.
Find them.
Let's explore that.
We'll extort them.
You're not going to get
dark alley.
You're not going to get triple Scotch glass. You're not going to get quads. You might get quad Scotch glass. You could definitely get OX triple Scotch glass from Neon Cap, but it's not going to be cheap. But you could get it. What else is there? See, this is the beauty of Ethmojis, is the scarcity of that. It's like once you actually go to a few obvious derivatives, you go, okay, 3, 4, 5, OX prefix. What the heck else is there? There's word emojis, whiskey and then whiskey glass, or whiskey glass and then whiskey, or the word emoji sandwich, whiskey glass, the word whiskey and whiskey glass. But come on, that's it. What else is there?
Whiskey glass, whiskey glass.
There is one. There's another one that I know that she'd love.
Negative whiskey. heavy negative sign.
Yeah, this is degen behavior, is getting into the negatives. Jesus.
Yeah, no negatives. That's bullshit.
See? So that's scarcity. Would you really evaluate?
I want clean and beautiful.
You have
And
a palindrome ADA.ETH.
I know, that's what I mean.
You'll
I
get
would
more
clean.
clean and more beautiful than that.
Well, the
Yeah,
one that
Gary-
I want is very clean and beautiful.
You really need to take better care of Ada. You know, she's out here suffering with very just poor second tier ENS domains.
No,
She really,
he knows better. He's not gonna get me second tier shit. No.
that's so amazing. You're sitting out here with a 3-character palindrome, your own first name. What did you want?
I didn't want it. That was like that was like there's a story here. It's like, what do you think about this?
I speak
I'm like,
wife.
I don't care. I don't want it.
Gary pushed it on you. Just hold this. It's an investment. Who's gonna make you sell it too? When the offer
No,
comes,
he knows better.
You can't. It's your identity at this point. This is what I know.
At this
Ada from.
point, at the
But it's
beginning, it
great.
totally
It's great.
was, because there was a time, I don't know if you guys remember it, that I actually
She would sell it for the right price.
It wasn't the beginning of my if it bought me Whiskey Island, I would totally sell it. Otherwise, no. Whiskey Island or bust. I send it to you, Gary.
I just
Whiskey
sent
Island didn't sell last week, huh? It's still out there on the market. That's good to know.
Ada, I just sent you one via DMs because I don't want Novax to go out trying to like hunt it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, that's a good one too. Wow.
Is it Whiskey Wednesday with a whiskey glass after it?
No.
How many
no.
characters is it, Steve?
This
4?
one is
Ooh.
4.
Ada,
Yeah,
Ada
I
whiskey
like
glass.
the one that you sent. That's like really beautiful. Up your alley, but I know you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, things are crazy and things are expensive, and a lot of people want to hold on to dollars instead of buying $640 ENS names. But what I'm wondering is what if dollars get so bad that your shit 3-character $640 ENS name is worth more than the $640 itself?
Yeah.
So coming out of the news today, we have China, Brazil striking a deal to ditch the dollar for trade. This is kind of a big deal. Brazil is part of BRICS. You guys know about BRICS? Also, a couple days ago, BRICS has overtaken the G7 in global GDP. You guys, I mean, that sounds like the G7 would shit a brick on that news. But that's
gonna get so fucking bad.
yeah,
like,
very bad. BRICS consists of Brazil, which is the largest economy in South America, Russia, which is the largest energy exporter in Asia, India, which is a huge economy, China, which is America's #1 adversary, and South Africa. That's BRICS. And so Brazil and China are now, and the BRICS is now doing more GDP than G7, which is just nuts. But Brazil and China are now going to be exchanging yuan for reais and vice versa instead of going through the dollar. And Mr. Miller, you own Mr. Miller.eth? Like Steve Miller was saying, shit's going to get bad.
So it's actually, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but it's already getting worse. They just today, like outside of this, Saudi Arabia announced that they were joining a security block and agreement to move towards the yuan, away from the dollar. In addition, in this alliance, they had Saudi Arabia, Iran, Russia, China, India, Pakistan. Like we have the like dookie icing on the cake right now. Like it's gonna get worse. And if the big security piece of this, like them forming a security block, that's probably the part that worries me the most. But yeah, we've got concerns.
Yeah, well, China is already Brazil's biggest trading partner, and so Brazil has a huge economic interest. $150 billion bilateral trade last year. That's a lot, right? That's 0.15 of a trillion money going back and forth. And instead of that 1.5 billion going through dollars, that 1.5 billion is now going to go through yuan and probably the digital renminbi. And this is, you know, I saw who's it? Is it Whale Trader? Who's that big account on Twitter? Whale Trader, I think they were just saying that there's a coordinated effort. So I could see if I could find it. There's a coordinated effort for countries around the world to drop the dollar.
Yep, that was what I was just referring to. It was that exact that post and two other articles that came out roughly at the same time.
What is that account? Who am I thinking of?
Watcher Guru, probably.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. That's a icon of a whale.
I foresee violence, like similar to what we did on the Nord Stream pipeline. I anticipate tactical sabotage of critical infrastructure as retaliation, and I think that will escalate and get quite potentially bad. This is really not good. Like, we've not really seen anything even remotely like this sort of rejection of the West and the hegemony of the West. And it may be pursuant to our string of absolutely asinine wars and the just the violations of human rights, and the hypocrisy of it is being called out by just about everyone, and good. And we as U.S. citizens have been calling it out for quite a while too, and we've just been powerless to stop it. It's what sucks is that some of us who have been really morally, ethically opposed to some of the crap that the West does habitually will suffer the most by it being corrected.
There's China and France doing the same thing, completing the first LNG gas trade using the Chinese yuan. Saudi Arabia entering a trade alliance with China, Russia, India, Pakistan. So now you have BRICS, which includes all these countries, plus Pakistan, plus 4 Central Asian nations, plus Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia plus Russia plus Brazil are all major energy suppliers in different continents of the world. And then here you have these other Southeast Asian nations, probably 4 of these that were just included in the previous statement, plus these other ones: Philippines, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore.
Good thing the U.S. government confiscated a large percentage of the total supply of Bitcoin. That'll be a nice hedge.
Yeah, the United States does own 1% of all the Bitcoin in the world. 1%. They own. I think Grayscale owns 2%, 2 or 3%. I think Satoshi owns 5%. I think Grayscale owns a little bit more than 1%. Grayscale might only own 2%. I'm not sure. Somewhere around there.
Can I just I'm an absurd comparison? There's like 21 million Bitcoin, whatever. There's only 15 or something because of supply, a bunch of lost. Now, how many ETH-mojis are there? Okay, how many word emojis? Okay, so just as an ETH-moji maximalist, okay, your ETH-moji could be worth more than a single Bitcoin. I mean, what happens in the future? 21 million Bitcoin are all distributed, and you can there's only 300 or 400 good ETH-mojis. Let's go.
And based on the valuations that you're giving future ETH-mojis and the statements already made about Nord Stream, I got to tell you, you must be smoking some good shit. So hats off to you, Novax.
You don't think that we had something to? You don't think that the Western, powers had anything to do with the sabotage of Nord Stream?
I would rather not get into it right now, but I am more of the mind that there were different powers at play there.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. My view is that it seems like that we're definitely involved in, trying to disincentivize our perceived economic enemies from having prosperity so that we can have that prosperity. Most of the things that play out as physical conflict in the world seem like economically motivated. So I guess in that way, everything that we talk about, you know what I mean, to do with crypto and economic freedom is kind of like inextricably politically implicated. But in this context, like without getting into any sort of like dogmatic views what people may have, the simple like observation is that when critical resources for energy for warming Europe are removed from Europe, like there are real economic consequences, and it seems like that's like a big part of what's precipitated these this coordinated effort to reject the dollar. This is unprecedented. This is crazy. It's got to be something must have caused it, or would you attribute it to just like a more general like fading of the United States power on the global stage?
I was looking at a documentary this past week about like the different global currencies in the world. They have like a time period where they are the predominant reserve currency. And not to say that this is like 100% true or false or whatever, but like the US dollar has been atop of the reserve currency for the entire world for, is it more than 100 years, right?
Depending on how you count it, yeah, because the U.S. currency has actually, been reintroduced twice, but yeah, it's been like 150 years.
Yeah. So the point is that it seems like the people that were talking in this documentary seem to be under the impression that seeing what's happening, i.e., the example of these articles, people are thinking that that's going to happen, and now they're looking at other reserve currencies because they think that the US dollar isn't strong enough, and seeing what's happening in the economy, the debt ceiling having to increase, the interest rates have been rising for an entire year, and they basically backtracked that whole thing with the SVB collapse and printing more dollars to compensate each of the depositors. So, it's there's a lot of uncertainty in the US economy right now, and the US dollar isn't looking that good or that interesting to invest in or to use as a reserve currency. So, let's see what happens, but I'm definitely, bearish in the short term, not with the US dollar alone, but just with the economy as a whole. I think there's a lot of things that are happening that people aren't talking about. I read about a company that's like the number one alternative investment company in the world, Blackstone, defaulting on their CMBS, or I think it's CBMS, whatever. They're collateralized backed mortgage securities. It's crazy, and people are not talking about this, and that's like,
I didn't hear about that. That is crazy.
Huh?
I did not hear about that. If Blackstone is defaulting, yeah, that's super crazy. Yeah, they're normally the number two in a lot of things because BlackRock crushes them in a lot of things, but they probably are number one in some things. I don't know if you know who BlackRock is, but they're like Blackstone, but sort of bigger, and they also do a lot of work for the United States government, so like hand in hand. And Blackstone would love to kill BlackRock would love to kill Blackstone. And if what you're saying is true, like, yeah, that could be like really, really bad.
Yeah. And I think it's part of like, they're also trying to renegotiate, like part of the terms for these mortgage-backed securities is that you can't renegotiate them unless you default. So I think there's some strategy there, but also they have a huge real estate portfolio that they've been buying up since the pandemic. and now they're not able to meet the interest payments because a lot of those securities were bought with a variable interest component, and as interest rises and keeps increasing, now their interest payments have increased by a lot more than what they were expecting. So, be it, take it as you will, but like, look up that Blackstone thing, and it's definitely worrisome for the US and the entire economy as a whole. Real estate, stocks, growth, whatever you want to look at, crypto, any risk on asset is gonna take a dump, in my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like you're with the reserve currencies coming and going. It sounds like you're referring. I mean, a lot of people have that, but one of the big people pushing it is Ray Dalio, and Ray Dalio has this whole thesis talking about reserve currencies and the rise and falls of global powers. So, if that's not the one you're looking at, definitely go watch that one too from Ray Dalio. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, based on what we were talking about earlier, I don't know if you guys watch Coin Bureau. Coin Bureau is a rather popular European-based YouTuber. He's not just European-based, but he's also based. And he did a two-part series not too long ago where he talks about some war games from the not the central bank, some war games from the World Economic Forum. And the last time the WEF had war games was November 2019, a couple months before the pandemic. And depending on the timeline of when the pandemic actually started, the war games probably started after they knew about the pandemic. But they just recently did new war games. And in this scenario of the war games, it was really interesting for us in the ENS world because ICANN was a part of these new war games. And these new war games, instead of being based around biological pandemic type stuff, these new war games are based around cyber attacks. And the concept of rolling cyber attacks, right? Not like a singular cyber attack, but many continuous, contingent and consecutive and contingent cyber attacks from multiple entities, from multiple nations, from multiple players attacking many levels of infrastructure across the globe, and how this would affect internet communications, how this would affect information, transmission and whatnot, how this would affect critical infrastructure type things. And so I would recommend that you go check out those part 1, part 2 of that Coin Bureau series to listen to, because he breaks down the whole war game and links to the paper version. I think they took down the YouTube version. A lot of the participants' identities were hidden, but we do know that ICANN played a major role in participating in that. And so that could be something coming down. So we're talking about conflict. We're talking about destabilization. From the destabilization of the dollar could lead to a destabilization of social order in America, which is also what Ray Dalio says happens in these scenarios. But then in addition to that, we're going to have this disruption potentially with these cyber attacks. What is that going to mean for communications, for information? How is ENS and IPFS going to step up? Will it be able to? And just things that we should consider in terms of preparing for down the pipeline. Yeah. So
yeah, I think
Yep, go on.
Yeah, no, I think these are the moments where we really test decentralization, and it's not a buzzword. It's all right, can this withhold whatever we need it to be? And I tweeted recently, and it's kind of interesting. A lot of different entities are talking digital identity, we talk about an ENS. A lot of entities around the world know there is a digital identity already. You can already trace so many different, cookies, so many different data points, tracking like the way you move across the screen, your fingerprints. There's so many different ways where they can basically pin you down to a digital identity already. And it's like it's not even a matter of our bags. It's like at some point your identity is online. It's not that it's purely online, but to think you're going to be naive to think that your digital identity is not such an integral part of your life. And at some point, I think humans need to realize that you can't just trust one third party. You can't really, rely on having other people to back whatever it is you need. Like imagine if, like I always say this, like imagine if Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube went down tomorrow. A lot of my friends on Twitter, I have a lot of people I would associate as friends, but I don't have their phone number, and and they could even censor the phone numbers. So there's a lot of ways where how do we associate ourselves? Who really is the base controller of our identity? Who determines who we are, and how do we connect? And so these points of it's these buzzwords of like decentralization and permissionless. Obviously it can be just like, oh, pump my bags. But we see times where like in third world countries, and it's penetrating first world countries, if you cannot talk to the person you want to talk to, if you can't spread the message of what you want to, what is the point of the internet? You're literally just being censored in a different way. And we just need that alternative. Even if we don't always use a decentralized naming system, I think we need that balance, just kind of like Bitcoin. We just need that ability that if a push comes to shove, we have an alternative. Just because I at this point, I think we've seen enough evidence that you can't rely on any third party, and you don't want to rely on just one system to succeed. It's not a matter of ENS or anything. How could you ever rely on one system? Diversification and just having a multiple platforms to be on, multiple platforms to reach people. I think that's just such a central part of identity and being a human being at this point in our lives.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
I think it was today that you were talking about it, and we talk about it a lot, is diversifying your income and having multiple streams of income. And I think now especially than ever. And in many ways I feel like right here in America we live in a time where in some ways the limiting mindset, like that there isn't enough, isn't necessarily true anymore, but many of us still live like it's just encoded in many of us, depending on how we grew up and what were beliefs that we grew up with. But I think this is like one of the few times in history that actually isn't true. It was true for many millennia, and for those of us that grew up in different places, it definitely was true. Like resources were limited. Like where I grew up in Poland, you went to the store and there was only enough pieces of meat, and if you got in line in time and you happened to get it, you got it. But if you didn't, you didn't. There definitely was like a limited thing. And for the first time, I think in America, since I don't know when, we experienced it during COVID, where I remember taking a photo and sending it to my mom and being like, I never thought I'll ever experience this again, but this is like communism all over again. Like this is where we left, right? And this is what's happening again. But it's interesting because I think that as we are entering this period of uncertainty, and I think I was listening to something recently, first time in I think 75 years, like the last 75 years, it really was like almost like since World War II. It's been like pretty good here. And now we're entering this period of kind of tremendous instability again. And I think I said it on the last Minting Coins, in some ways, Bitcoin was made for this. Like Bitcoin, the entire Bitcoin white paper was created because of this. But I still think that, having diverse sources of income, it's what's going to really help us through this time. And even like looking at looking back at COVID, it's very, very strange. Like, what are some of the businesses that like skyrocketed during COVID, and who was struggling during COVID? And it was really, really like a lot of sort of, personal growth and those, like, it skyrocketed because people were stuck at home, but we're still in this like evolutionary, like, how can I evolve past this so I can create better wealth? And so I'm very curious because I think that we're entering this phase with a different level of consciousness in some ways that we have in the past. And so I'm very, very curious. I also do believe that history repeats itself, and that we're ignorant if we don't look back at history and don't take what has happened previously as a way to inform our future, because I think that the nature of energy is cyclical. And I think it's like we kind of have to come back to the same place. Maybe it's with a different level of consciousness, but like it's like we're learning through the same, we're evolving through the same experiences. And it's like we're approaching them maybe with a different level of consciousness. So looking back at history, all great empires fell. I mean, without doubt, like every single one of them. And so it's not surprising to me that we are here right now. And I mean, obviously being a parent is scary as hell. Like, I think that if Gary and I were single through these times, we would be like, it's it's gonna be Walking Dead, it's gonna be great, whatever, like I'll get a Lucille and slay some zombies, it's gonna be fantastic. But when you're a parent, it is really scary because it's like you have to figure out how to protect your kids, and that piece becomes so very important in how you approach it. And I think you approach this completely differently. And so, I am very curious because I think that we have access to different resources this time around that we maybe have had anytime in the past. But then when hardship and trauma happens, we kind of just like hyper focus on like one thing, and we like almost forget like what we have access to. So, I hope we write it out, and it's not going to be super painful because it's definitely coming. I mean, it's like the writing is on the walls.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that I've like talked about, like, and like I don't have like, I don't know all the answers, but the one thing I'm really bullish on is like I think like Web 2, it unlocked a lot of like what we can do, but it felt very much like a network for people versus like this is like networks of people. And so I'm very bullish on like societies as a whole being able to collectively come together. It's not, okay, I know this person from this country or they do this thing. It's just like, all right, we can collectively come together. And I think that's going to be something that could be revolutionary. We'll see if like, the centralized, groups come together and disrupt it. But I think if we do get true decentralization, I'm just really bullish on DAOs and like humans as a whole connectively like coming together and being able to collaborate 24/7. Like I've just seen it in Web3 and ENS. And I'm just like, if this can be a full on like thing where we can connectively work together as humans, regardless of our geographical like locations, I'm just really bullish because I think humans as a whole, we're really powerful, and if we connect together, and I think that's what Web3 is about. Web 2 is very much like extractive, and I think Web3 is all about like empowering the individual, and you get money for making it better, and like that's a better model in my opinion. I'd rather someone take 1% of my earnings than taking 99% of something that I'm struggling to get. And I think like humans as a whole, if we don't have to, associate together based on whatever geographic, and it's just like, look, I respect what you as a human are. I don't want to be like bound to certain like narratives that they want us to be bound to. Like, I just want to say, if I appreciate the human, they're a good human, they're representing good things. I think that's a really powerful narrative that we have infrastructure without geographical balance that we can collectively come together. And I think that's what's so great about crypto is we started with the financial infrastructure, and as much as Web3 is sprawled into the social, and I'm the biggest social proponent ever, but you need that basis of currency, and we have that between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'm just really bullish on our future. Hopefully, you know, we are able to get through some of these bottlenecks, get through some of these like points that I'm sure people want to prevent. But it just really, you know, to me, like there is like the bright side of the equation where we can, you know, prevent a lot of the atrocities that can come from centralization. You know, like I said, it's not just a buzzword. I think we can see in ENS and Web3 that there's things that us as humans where we can just collectively be like, all right, I like exactly digital identity the same way you do, and it doesn't matter anything else. I just want to work with you. I want to, you know, solve the same exact things as you. I don't know. I just think it's really powerful, and I'm just really excited for some of the innovations that come from Web3 because I think there's going to be some things that weren't possible with Web2 because it was internet, but it was much more bound to geographic locations and, you know, US laws or this law than we are in Web3. And so I don't know. I'm just really pumped to see humans as a network instead of a network for humans.
That is like, you make some amazing points. And I mean, I do believe that there is going to be battle on a, you know, on a country level, so to speak, before we can transcend the boundaries. Because though, you know, we do have those foundations, you know, we do have a digital currency that can work across the globe. I think that there is a lot of power in condensing these powers within the countries and the systems that we have set. And so it is going to take a lot to dismantle these systems. And what I mean a lot is like, you know, change. Like I always look back, it's like if you look at that process of the caterpillar becoming a butterfly, like it literally has to break down on a cellular level. It's a really violent process. It's not like, you know, we talk about it like, oh, and then the caterpillar decided to become a butterfly. It's like, no, it like died and became soup before it transformed. It's an extremely violent process. And so I think that there are going to be some revolutions, not to go too deep down that rabbit hole. I do think that we absolutely could transcend that. The biggest problem is once we begin that process of transcending the borders, is can the human self-govern or create some kind of government that works for all? Or is it just going to create a power vacuum where one government is really going to enforce, you know, rules across everything, which would be kind of almost worse and more devastating. And so, you know, because wars and instability create tremendous vacuums. And the question is always what emerges from those vacuums. And it's not always what you intend to emerge that actually emerges.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really important about social forks is we always need to understand the power of the individuals. We cannot be constrained by, oh, this is like the status quo. This is what it is. We need to be like willing to say, look, if we are screwed, if we are not in the power of just having, you know, rights, we need to be able to social fork and say, this is not okay. This is not fair. But no, you're right. There is going to be that battle. But at least in the short term, I'm just bullish on an alternative. Just as the same way I view Bitcoin in the short term. I don't think anyone would say Bitcoin is that new currency that's going to be used 24/7 like the dollar. But at least it's something that it's a pushback. The government needs to check themselves. And I think humans are slowly, just like Bitcoin, going to, you know, understand that about digital identity. They're going to slowly check TikTok. They're going to slowly check YouTube. They're going to say, you know, the influencers are going to start it. They're going to be like, why should I always build content on this platform just for it to get taken away, just for me to lose my followers? All these types of things, I think at a minimum in the short term, it's just a counterbalance to hopefully prevent that check and power, because I think everyone can agree, even if we stay relatively centralized, there should be some pushbacks. It's like there needs to draw a line. And, you know, I'm not always against centralization, but there needs to be some boundaries where they can't just shove us over and just constantly just berate us and not give any craps about us. So no, you're right. It's going to be one of those games where, you know, who knows where it ends up there. You know, it can become more centralized, more decentralized, But I just hope as humans, we realize that we can shape it. And it's just a matter of us realizing it, a matter of us conforming together and taking, you know, power within ourselves. And like I said, at least counteracting some of the, you know, centralized powers, just making us have a balance in case something were to get so extreme that we can, you know, push back a little bit to make them check balance themselves.
Very wise words from someone who has been around this earth 2 scores and 1 year. Or is it 1 score? 1 score in 1 year. we get to have these wise words from Evan 15, who is in fact not 15 nor 16. Much wiser.
It's amazing that Evan was born in this after the 2000s. It's fucking crazy.
It is. And what I'm hearing everyone say is that life is crazy. No matter when you're born, we're always born into the craziest part of life. Except right now things are extra crazy. And it takes a lot to make it. You know, you gotta, you know, have cash flow, you gotta have conviction, you gotta have a lot of things going your way. But one of the things that I'm hearing that we need is community, and not the bullshit community of sales pitching, but the actual community where we spend time hanging out, connecting, getting our 200 hours in, so we can shift people from acquaintances to friends or whatever the hell Ada said. And yeah, it's like 1 hour a day for like 40 weeks or something like that. But yeah, we gotta, you know, everyone can contribute 1%. And doing 1%, if we all do 1% more for ourselves, and if we all do 1% more together, then it will help, you know, because we are all nodes of the human consciousness. We are each nodes, you know, in the spiritual universe of however we're connected. And we can choose to be disconnected, or we can choose to be connected. But we're going to call it a night. Thanks, everyone, for coming on out. Julio, final words?
I just transacted on L2 ZK Sync, you know, for 25 cents.
Whoa.
So modular blockchain Ethereum, let's go. ENS is coming. Ethereum is coming. Don't sleep on Ethereum. Don't get distracted with all the noise on all these supposed side chains and like Ethereum killers. There is no Ethereum killer. The only Ethereum killer is called Ethereum, and it's not going to kill itself because we're on suicide watch. But anyways, guys, that was awesome. Thank you for having me today. It was a pleasure being with you, Stephen, Evan, Novax, and the great Ada and Gary Palmer Jr. So thank you for having me, guys. Ethereum is coming. Looking forward to next Whiskey Wednesdays. I'm Julio, and then I'll let you do my outro.
Novak's final words?
184 is not here, so I'm going to do his thing. In 0vax.eth. That's all you need to know.
That's good. That was good. Stephen Miller.
Always a pleasure being on with you guys. Happy Whiskey Wednesday. Happy birthday, Evan15.eth, aka management.eth, aka the babyface killer, aka the what was the other one that came
Sniper in a diaper.
Yeah, the sniper in a diaper. We appreciate you. Happy birthday, my friend. Looking forward to another year in this insane landscape with you. But yeah, this is minting coins, man.
Fucking minting coins. Let's go.
Hey, you can't steal the very last minting coins sign out line, Steven. What the heck, man?
I wasn't even close to stealing it. It's more of an acceptance of who we are.
We are minting coins.
That's true. Facts. Evan 15. Did you want to change it into Evan 21? And did you want to have any final words?
Yeah. Shout out. So I was in the ENS Shark Tank yesterday. Shout out to the GOAT for being exit liquidity. Shout out to you, man. sold a domain for 0.1 Ethereum. Didn't even plan it, but shout out to that guy. Nah, but honestly, like, great show, ENS Shark Tank. Happy to be here for minting coins. Thank you guys for having me every week. It's been really a fun highlight of my Wednesdays. Like, I really do enjoy it. For anyone who's listening, I am starting a social media consulting and management firm. So please follow ENS Media Group. It is on Twitter. It's in my bio. But yeah, so I'm really pumped to just try to help others with social media. I'm going to be doing a lot of free content. So it's not just about like me making money. I just want to really push the ENS narrative. And I think if people are fluid with social media, then the word will get out there quicker. I think I don't know everything, but I think there's, some things people can learn from me. And I've tried, doing something that's more relevant to my niche, because there's a lot of things I learned from Gary, Steven, Novax, Julio, Ada, but I think social media is something I can relate to, and I'm just going to do my part. Like I said, I'm just an ENS community member. I'm going to do whatever I can to push the narrative, because I think decentralized digital identity is really important. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do anything I can to push the narrative. Thanks for having me on, and I really appreciate it. So have a great rest of your night, everyone.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely check that out. And happy birthday. Indeed, a beautiful, beautiful happy birthday, and a happy birthday, not just a day, but a happy birthday week, a happy birthday month. And I hope you have a happy birthday year. Salute.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for the birthday wishes.
Happy birthday.
Ada.eth. Final words.
Evan, happy birthday. I can't believe you're only 21 because you're so very wise. I definitely need some help with the social media, because my social media strategy is like a sloth crossing a road. I will eventually get there, but it's very slow. So please help me. And I love being here every week. And I'm so happy we are back with minting coins. It was an amazing journey. It started 2017 and we're still here. Took a break and we're back, and we are building such an amazing community. And I look forward each and every week to these conversations where we can really dive deep into some of the amazing topics that are near and dear to my heart. So I love you all. And Evan, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Very cool. Awesome, everyone. Thanks for coming on out. We'll do it again soon. Until next time, I'm Gary Palmer Jr.eth. You're you.